guys, and welcome to my channel. The last time we spoke you saw me unbox this bad boy and assemble it. Now what do you do after that? How do you get from assembled printer to making some cool things like this igneous hammer from Destiny? Well, it's actually quite simple with this machine. All you need to do is level your bed, make it do the automatic bed leveling, and you're pretty much good to go. So, what do I mean by level the bed? There are 6 knobs, 3 on each side. You tighten them up as far as they will go, because you don't want the hot hand to hit the bed the first time you do this. You don't know if it will or not, so be safe. Once you do that, you go into manual bed leveling, and you have 6 points of contact, just like you have 6 knobs. So you go to the first one, you say move, and by adjusting this knob right here, you can raise the bed up or lower it down. Disclaimer, before you do this, hit the bed, hit the nozzle so everything's up to temperature, because when stuff gets hot, it expands. So once you're here at the first point of contact, you need a piece of paper. This piece of paper should slide in and not catch on the printer. So basically what you wanted to do, you need to create the distance between the bed and the nozzle that is 1 paper layer thick. So as you can see, this one is not really going in, it's touching too much, so I'm gonna tighten this a little bit. By tightening this bolt, you can actually lower your bed. And now you can see it's actually too loose. It's pretty close, but too loose. So let's get it to the point where it's catching the paper, scraping it really. You don't want it to actually catch the paper, just scrape it a little bit, and then you'll know that you're at the right distance. Now this is actually a lot better, so you can see what I'm actually doing. You see it's catching, but it's catching too much. So we're just tightening it up a little bit. Now it's good. Now it's scraping the paper, not catching it. So let's go to the point number 3. See what's going on. It's actually too much in here. And yep, this is good. Point number 4 is going to move to the other side. This one is going to be a little bit harder to film, but you get the point. If it's moving too much, it's not good. If it's just scraping the paper, I'm gonna you see? I mean, I'm barely holding on to the paper, and the nozzle is actually able to move it around. So that's all you want, just to feel it scrape the paper. So, point number 5. Let's see, it's a little bit tight in here. Let's release that. Yep, this is good. Number 6. 6 is good. Let's go back to the number 1, because while we were moving the bed on the other side, this side actually tilted, and on this side it's actually too loose. So let's tighten it up a little bit. Actually, that's actually pretty good. Let's go on to the number 2. Number 2 is a little bit loose, which is to be expected. That's why we need to do this twice. Okay. This is actually good. Number 3. Number 3 is good. Number 4. Yep, number 4 needs a little bit low. Yeah, that's good. 5. 5 is actually super good. Let's do 6. a little bit much, to be honest. And yeah, this is good. Click home. We don't need the paper anymore, because now we're gonna tell the printer to do the auto bed leveling. So it's gonna check for 49 points on the bed and determine the distance between the nozzle and the bed. So let's do that now. Click confirm, and you can see there are 49 points that the nozzle head is actually going to check onto the bed. So let's check it out in action. It's gonna home in, and then it's gonna start measuring all the points on the bed to see where it stands, where the nozzle is compared to the bed. We're gonna let it do its thing, and we'll be right back. Now, once the auto leveling is complete, you can actually see the numbers, and as low as you can get them, the better you did. As you can see, I'm in low points on all sides, so this bed is as level as it can be. If you mess it up, you can always do it again, so don't worry. This right here is actually your Z offset, or baby steps as it's called on some printers, and you can manually adjust it so that we take this piece of paper back and we slide it in. You can feel it scraping but not actually catching. That means you're right a distance away from the bed to begin your prints. After you did all of this, you don't need this paper anymore, and you're actually almost ready for your first print. What do I mean by almost? You need to fit some filament in. I already did that because I printed some things on this one, so what do you actually need to do? This knob releases your filament so you can pull it out. You run it through your little filament run out sensor down into your nozzle. Just pull this back, slide it in, let it go. That's pretty much it. Before every printer will make a line right here, extrude some excess, clean the nozzle, and then start printing. Let's talk about some things you're actually gonna need to start printing besides the printer and your filament. You're actually going to need a PC, of course, and you're gonna need some files. This printer comes with a small SD card, mini SD card, that actually has a little Buddha statue on it. It's like a neat little test print. I used up the little bit of filament that Allegro sends with this device and tried it out. I printed a little bench, I printed a calibration cube, and I actually did that for a reason. These little prints are actually quite good. Let me see if I can get it off. I can. They're actually excellent to tell you in what state is your printer in. Is it calibrated right? Are the Z steps high enough? Did you make a good leveling job on the printer? Did you level the bed nicely? You can see all of that. I mean, the color doesn't help here, but you can actually see that this benchy came out nearly perfect. Even though I scaled it down about 50% because I wanted it to finish as quickly as possible, it still retained all the details that it needed. That's what tells me that this printer is calibrated right, and this is now a permanent home for a 3D benching. Once you do that, you're actually really good to go. Now, what can this printer do? It's 330 by 330 by 400 in size, so you can actually print some really huge things in one shot. Let me show you. Give me a second. This Batman cowl that I'm actually making for a friend of mine, I printed in one go. It fits on the bed perfectly. This Iron Man helmet up here, I did the same thing. I printed it, no problem, no issues whatsoever. I even had room to spare. These calipers, cosplay calipers, that are actually really useful to help you size out your prints so you can actually put them on, are actually quite big. They're quite long. On this bed, no problem. So, that's basically it, guys. That's all you need to know about leveling your Neptune 3 Plus. It's super easy. You saw me do it in real time. It took like 2 minutes. Like the longest time it needed was actually for the auto bed leveling feature. It takes some time to pinpoint all the points, and that's pretty much it. Now, the first thing I recommend printing really are these test prints, because they will tell you a lot about your setup, and if you're good to go to actually print something big like this. Like this Baby Yoda. Can I do this? Yeah, oh, actually I can. I actually printed this Baby Yoda right after I printed my benchy, because I wanted to see if everything was good. Now, you probably can't see it on camera, but not everything is good. Not all the lines are great. I mean, the details are there, the eyes, the nose, the texture on his collar, everything is there, but it's super weak. I can break this with 2 fingers, because my layer height is actually too big. I didn't adjust the Z offset that I showed you earlier, so this ended up being too loose and in turn weak. But what happens if you learn all of this, and then you get something like this? Let me fill this up. And yeah, I can actually pull really hard on this, and don't worry about breaking it or anything, because layers on this one are super tight. It's super strong, it's super rigid, and nothing's gonna happen to it unless you really try to break it. So this one is actually good. I mean, I still need to do a lot of cleanup on this one. It's full of supports, because printing odd shapes like this is a little bit tricky, and we'll talk about it and talk about orientation and settings and slicers that I like using. So that's it for this one, guys. We set it up, we calibrated everything we needed for our first prints. Do your first prints and assess if everything you did was right, and if it was, well, then it's time for a good stuff. Thank you all for watching. Please hit that subscribe button, like the video, and I'll see you in the next one.